All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Itching to Vote. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are so honored to have our first Republican on the Itching to Vote concept, and it is none other than the one and only Representative Jane Powdrell-Culbert is up in the house. Woohoo! Jane, welcome. Yes.
Good to be
so
here.
tell the viewers your district and everything else in terms of what area you represent, etc.
Caleb, I represent District 44,
Yes.
which is Sandoval County
Okay.
in the state of New Mexico.
Okay. Awesome. And you've been doing that for how long now?
Now 16 years.
Wow.
This is my 16th year.
So that means that you've seen, honestly, you've been through several presidents,
Yeah.
and also you've seen many laws that have been both sponsored and as well as passed over the years.
Yeah.
Correct?
It's been a journey. It's been a
Yes.
great journey. You know, it's been an opportunity that God puts in place.
Yes.
Because it's not something I could have ever even dreamed of when I started out. You know, I started out working in the community in Albuquerque back in 1963.
Wow.
And registering folks to put their children in this area's first federally funded daycare program.
Okay. Can you talk to us about some of your record, being as though you've been in office for a number of years now, in terms of just some of the bills perhaps that you've sponsored or have participated in and gotten through on behalf of the voting public here in New Mexico?
For me, and a lot of people don't realize that I'm a big infrastructure person.
Okay.
And I really believe that infrastructure, and we're talking about our roadways
Okay.
and our plumbing and our electrical connections, they play a major part in the quality of life.
Okay.
You know, so I've really focused on business and infrastructure, quite frankly.
Okay.
The committees that I've served on during the legislature is the Business and Industry Committee and Transportation.
Okay.
And what we look at is we look at legislation that affects the business community.
Okay.
We look at legislation that improves our roadways.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
And so I live and represent District 44 and have been very involved in the, for example, the interchange at 550 and I-25.
Yes. Okay.
You know, and working with the transportation department, working with the town of Bernalillo, and quite frankly, you know, working with our district engineer and addressing some of the issues around that area. And what it did for that area, you know, we have capital outlay.
Okay.
And capital outlay is strictly a certain amount of dollars that you can bring back to your district.
Okay.
And it has to be used for bricks and mortar.
Okay.
It has to be used for improvement, for building, etc. And so I worked very closely with Bernalillo, but what it did for Bernalillo was it helped Bernalillo build a business corridor that they had been working on.
Okay.
And see, a lot of folks, you know, probably don't realize that New Mexico has what's called a gross receipts tax. And that gross receipts tax comes from the dollars that you spend at your local Walgreens, or at your Church's Chicken, or at your Pizza Hut, you know, or the dollar store. And a certain percentage of those dollars goes back to that community in which those stores
where you're
are
spending
located.
the time.
So where you spend it, you can see your money improving the community that you live in. And that's very important.
Yes.
And so that's, you know, I carried carried legislation and brought home capital to address that issue in my district. One of my big bills that I was really proud of is I carried legislation for Union Pacific Rail. And that's down in Santa Teresa, down near Las Cruces.
Right.
The governor sent it to me, I sent it back. She sent it to me, I sent it back. She sent it to me and says, I want you to carry this. And I said, okay, I'll carry it, but that's out of district. what I didn't realize at the time was the total impact that it was going to have on the state. And, you know, I always like to say that I carried the anchor, because there were a number of legislators at the local level in Doñana County, and our federal folks who had worked on that for years.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to be the one to bring it.
Oh, that is
in,
awesome.
You know, to bring it in.
Right,
you
yes.
know, and to the finish line. And for about 3 years, I understood the legislation, what was on paper, but I couldn't visualize it. And I could have never, ever dreamed of the impact that it's having on that community and on the state, because it's bringing so much money into the state.
Okay.
And what it is, for example, is Union Pacific could have gone into El Paso.
Okay.
Because the facilities and everything were already there. But they wanted New Mexico to provide them with certain tax breaks.
Okay.
In return, they provided jobs.
Okay.
Okay? And that rail system now carries products out of Mexico across this country.
Oh.
It provides jobs for that entire area.
Absolutely.
And Santa Teresa was a community that was, I kind of compared it to a Texas Dust Bowl.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
and the first time I went to Santa Teresa, I thought, oh my goodness. You know.
Right.
But now Santa Teresa has become an industrial complex that is affecting this nation.
Wow.
You know, and so to have the privilege to be the anchor and bring that in across the finish line, you know, it's going to be felt. You know, I'm proud of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only representative, Jane Powdrell-Culbert, doing it real big for the people of New Mexico. Yes, yes, yes.
I did that.
We are. That's just one. She's done so many. Jane, we have on our website, on the Itchin' to Vote website, we have a link that takes people to Ballotpedia. And Ballotpedia, they can search on your name or any politician's name nationwide and just see some of the track records, see some of the articles and things like that. And I just like to say, as a New Mexican, because I've watched you over the years and I was there when you ran your first campaign, and I just like to say I'm so proud and just so honored of the work that you've done over the years. You know, I would like to, it certainly is two issues that's going on right now as we're doing this interview. One is the immigration issue, but the other thing that I wanted you to speak about perhaps first, can you tell the viewers out there some of the benefits of thinking about the Republican Party in terms of what it is that you all do, what it is that you represent? Because certainly with the Itchin' to Vote concept, our concept is to enlighten viewers and to enlighten them about, regardless of party, but in this case, since you are a Republican, you can talk to them about perhaps, you know, just some of your experience or just, you know, the paradigm of the Republican Party.
You know, the biggest thing, and I can only speak for me.
Absolutely.
Okay. But the biggest thing that I realized is we're not taken for granted.
Right.
For me, as a Republican, it's about the quality of life.
Right.
And the environment in which that takes place.
Right. Right.
And what makes up that environment. Quality of life in an environment means jobs.
Right. Yes.
You know, it means the means to get to and from work.
Yes. Yes.
You know, it means that having someone prepared, whether it's by them going to college, trade school, everybody's not college material.
Sure.
But having that individual prepared to take advantage of the jobs
Right. Right.
that are available to them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you say, well, tell us the difference between the parties, right now, everything's a big difference.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, what matters is the quality of life.
Absolutely.
And I think we're really focused on that environment, the quality of life, irregardless of what your nationality may be.
Sure.
And really irregardless of whether or not you voted for me.
Right.
I've had folks to call me and say, well, I did not vote for you, but I have a problem. And my response has been, well, let's see what your problem is, and maybe that'll determine whether or not you'll vote for me next time.
Right, that is so true. Yes, going back to your point about the quality of life, one thing, I can just go down the list of some things that I've observed about the Republican Party. For example, pro-Second Amendment,
Oh.
and I have no problem with that, quite honestly. The Republican Party definitely, well, it seems like lower taxes.
Yes.
Would that be?
All of that's a part of quality of life.
Right.
Second Amendment.
Yes. Okay.
I'm a total supporter
High five.
of gun rights. I am totally supportive of it. But I'm also supportive of, if you decide that you're going to carry a firearm,
be responsible.
Be responsible and be accountable for your actions.
Yes, and go get some training.
And whether you get training or not, you know that if you use it, you have to be responsible for it.
Right.
Sure, we lower taxes, but also accessibility.
Okay.
We cannot make your quality of life better if you don't have the opportunity and the accessibility to those jobs.
Right.
So that you can own that house.
Yes.
So that you can pay that mortgage.
Yes. People come to America, and Americans that are here, they want that American dream, whether it be to own a house and things like that, and economics and things like that. And I recall back during former President Bush's, the latest Bush that was in office, he had made a speech about making sure that every American was able to get a house. Americans love things like that, to be able to get, someone can debate whether or not you can afford the house, but at the end of the day, people dream about being able to have and purchase their own home and having a good place to raise their families and things like that. And so, I'm all pro for that, and I think that.
And people forget that about Republicans because they get so caught up in all this other minutia, and earlier I mentioned history. You have to look back historically at both parties and look at where we've come with both parties. And, as you mentioned, to own a home. You cannot own a home unless you have a job. Right. You can't raise a family. I keep going back to that family value. You can't raise a family in a home unless you're employed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, President Bush says every American should have the opportunity.
Yes.
To own a home. And then we had an administration to come in after him, and the taxes, everything was shot up. People lost their homes. In Sandoval County right now, in my District 44, on average, we have somewhere around 6,500 to 7,500 houses that are in foreclosure.
Wow.
Because people have lost their jobs. And there were some, granted, that were transferred, but the majority of it because the jobs, And so you have to look at that, because when a new employee comes in and he says, "I'm here for life," before I say that, it has to be clear that business is in business to make money. People don't go into business just for the heck of going into business. No, they're going into business
to make money and make a profit.
But in the mix of all of that, if I can hire you, pay you a good salary that will afford you the home that you mentioned earlier, for you, for your family, it affords you the opportunity to feed your family properly. It affords you the opportunity to spend time and help raise these, 2.3 kids that you have.
Yes.
And so we're all about that. I don't think it should be given to you. I think you should earn it.
Right, I agree. I'm about self-reliance. I'm
Yeah.
about self-independence. I don't mind getting up in the morning and working my butt off so that I can, when I walk into a store, I can pay for it. I got dignity and respect, you know? And you know, when a person feels good about themselves, you know, quite honestly, and they have job, they have employment, things like that, crime reduces.
It does, you know, and you have to, we believe that you have to create an environment to make those things happen. They don't just happen on their own.
Yes.
You know? You create an environment, the Republican Party create an environment to take care of Americans first. You know, and I said we're going through this whole thing with immigration.
Yes,
At this
absolutely.
current time, you know. And I am of the Vietnam War era, you know.
Okay.
And I truly believe that all of our young men and women that have fought in these wars since that time, they did it for America.
Yes.
You know, and so if you're going to come into this country, I say
legal.
welcome.
Right.
But I also say come in through the process.
I agree with you.
In my opinion, the fight that our nation should be having over immigration should be really about the process and how long it takes an individual who really wants to come here. How many hoops should they have to jump through?
Right, yes.
Also, we have to look at the fact that this country was built on the back of American workers, whether they were immigrants or not. Those who came from so many other countries, you know, came in, followed all the rules, and built this country. They built this country based on rules and regulation.
Yes.
What makes that so unimportant now?
We need order.
You need
And we need
order.
laws.
And we need laws, you know, we need for that to be followed, you know, and when you look at some of the other international stuff that's going on, we have to remember that a lot of the industry, you look at Motor City, you look at the automotive industry, was completely shipped out of this country.
Right.
You know, look at all those families that lost jobs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and if this man doesn't do anything else but create an environment and put people back to work, it's worth the journey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because that impacts our prisons. That impacts our kids.
Oh,
That
yeah.
impacts everything that we do. And some folks, there's a group of folks here in America, any place else, but I know America, that wouldn't work if you set a job in their lap.
Right.
But you know,
Right.
but that's not most of America.
Right.
People want to work. People want
wanna
to be
work.
productive.
Yes.
And that's what I see a lot of his efforts.
Right.
You know, is to put Americans back to work.
Yeah.
Because if we put them back to work, that's less money we have to spend on prisons.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that's less money we'll probably have to spend on teen pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because there's supervision.
And on
you
SNAP
know.
programs and
on
other
all
things
those
like that.
programs,
Yes.
all those government programs.
Yes.
And so, now I feel real strong about some of my Republican values. You know?
Right. Yes.
And I just for
And I'll be honest with you, I like some of the Republican values.
You know?
I do. I mean, that's why I'm listening. You know, certain ones that, you know, I just, you know, certainly I grew up in a two-family home, so I'm really all about pro-family, you know? So can you tell them how they can get a hold of your campaign or?
They can just call me.
Okay, just call you?
Just contact me.
Okay, people that know you.
Yeah,
Okay.
people that know me and
Right,
people who,
okay.
who want to donate. 'Cause
Okay.
I receive donations
Okay, no problem.
from folks.
Sure.
You know, and I've had some folks that say, well, let's keep this between you and I.
Right,
Well,
right,
he's a
understand.
Democrat, you know,
Sure.
or whatever. Or she's a Democrat.
Okay.
But the fact, you know, for me, I'm just so, you know, just so proud that they believe in me.
Yes,
You know, that
yes.
they're willing to donate.
Yes.
their $5,000, or they're willing to donate their $10. And I did a fundraiser one year called Friends and Family. And the biggest, I got big contributions. But the ones that were most heartfelt was I received them from the little old ladies out of the neighborhood in South Broadway. And it was a $20 bill, a $10 bill, or a $5 bill rolled up in a piece of paper in an envelope. And when you open it, they said, "Janie, make us proud."
Oh.
See, and those are the things that touch your heart.
Right.
And those are the reasons, that I keep working hard at this. I don't want to disappoint them, but I'm human. All politicians are human. We all do stupid things, because that's just a human factor.
Absolutely.
We're not perfect. But it has been my goal to work hard to get elected. And once elected, to be able to do
you deliver
a good job,
Absolutely.
And bring back what is needed for District 44. But on a national basis, I served as the national president for the women's program for the National Council of State Legislators, and worked with women from around the country. And as I mentioned earlier, it was a team of us that worked together to go to Bahrain and to go to Taiwan and to go to the Netherlands, and it was both Democrats and Republicans, and we've worked together, on a national basis. I'm pretty proud and to be able to have had that opportunity.
Absolutely, your record stands for you.
And so I'm asking for your vote. If
Yes.
you live in District 44,
District 44,
Sandoval County,
Sandoval County,
I'm asking for your vote.
Representative Jane Powdrell-Culbert. Is there anyone that you want to say hello to, send a shout out to, or just friends, family, supporters, or whatever?
Just
everyone.
not so much a shout out, other than more so a thank you for allowing me the honor to serve as their state representative.
Awesome.
These 16 years. It's been a joy. Some days were tougher than others. But. What an adventure.
You still look so young, like you just started out. But I know you've learned so much, and just so much wisdom that has been obtained, but just the milestones and the accomplishments that you've made on behalf of people of New Mexico, and particularly District 44.
And I'm willing to share it.
Yes.
For someone who truly wants to go down this road, we all started somewhere.
Yes.
And if you would have said to me 25 years ago that I would have been in the state legislature, I would have just died laughing, because that was not my interest, and I've had, some great employment that has played a major role in my success as a legislator.
Right.
Yeah, full disclosure, I worked 7 years for the NRA.
Okay.
Which was a great experience.
Second Amendment.
Yes, Second Amendment. But you also learned, what I found out was that in some parts of this country, the only way folks can put meat on their table is hunting.
Oh, okay, right.
And there's some areas where people, they close school for 2 weeks for the salmon run, for hunting season, for this hunting season, that hunting season, because it's so important. So, here in New Mexico, guns were never a big issue until here recently. And so I didn't realize when I started working for the NRA that it was that big of issue, but you have to be accountable and responsible. I worked for Buick. I wrote and produced TV commercials and radio commercials and designed newspaper ads. I worked for the police department. I worked for the city of Albuquerque.
And also for
the state fair.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Jane Powdrell-Culbert, she did such an awesome job with the New Mexico State Fair. My goodness, you did a tremendous job.
We had a blast, and everybody enjoyed it. And that's, it's always my goal, You know, I mean, I can find a little humor. I'm a little different. I can find a little humor in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's important for me to be able to allow young people, as we did at the state fair,
Yes.
to be able to
Yes.
participate.
Yes.
You know.
And express their talent. One thing that I really loved about your leadership with regard to the state fair was you were really true to the principles of win-win. You know, people that worked with you, they won as well as the state fair. So everyone won. And that's one thing that I really loved about your leadership. You know?
And we all had a great time.
Oh, we had a blast.
We had a blast.
We got some great footage from back then and blah, blah, blah. But you've carried that same sentiment into your job as a legislator, you know, creating those win-wins and getting accomplishments.
And you know, Caleb, it's important to mention that we're not paid.
Oh.
We're not a paid legislature.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of folks think that we are.
Right.
So I still work.
Right.
You know, and
But that's really serving, huh?
Yeah.
I'm saying serving as a legislator.
As a legislator. You know, people think we make all this money. We do not.
Right.
You know, we get a per diem and we get mileage. That's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
And so it's not a money-making venture for me.
Okay.
You know, and so I know how to do it. I learned, and I always tell folks I've got fingerprints all over me. As soon as someone finished with me, God has blessed me to have someone else there, and they passed me on. And so
one would ask the question: if you don't get paid for it, then why would you do it? I mean, I imagine a viewer may be thinking about that question. Why would a legislator go in and serve? Maybe you can answer that.
I think just the fact that you can serve, and that you see there's a need.
Right. Okay.
You know, because I can't tell you, you know, that I do it for the pay. I don't do it for the pay.
Sure.
There's no pay.
Sure.
But I think that I have made a big difference.
Right.
In lives of folks who probably would have never. How would I say it? Who would have never had any representation?
Right.
You know, I mean,
just like with the STEM program, as you mentioned.
Yeah, you know, and giving them the opportunities and the exposure. I had a young girl that someone, you know, asked me to give her and her family a call, who graduated from high school in May, this past May. I met her 3 years ago, and brought her to the legislature and introduced her to everyone in the house. She was my guest for that day. What made it so important was that her family was an average working family, but this young girl was the 10th highest score on the SAT in the nation.
Wow.
And she graduated this past May. I went to her graduation, and she had $280,000 in scholarship.
Wow.
And the one that she chose to go to Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, okay.
And she, you know, and I was so proud because she was this young black girl, you know, who's extremely smart, obviously. But this is one of our kids.
Right.
You know, and that's why I do this.
Awesome.
Because there's a lot of these little folks out there who are not exposed.
Right.
You know.
So you let your light shine so that others are able to.
So that they can do that.
Yeah,
you know, so that they know what I'm doing is. So they don't think like I did. I used to watch folks do this kind of stuff and think it's impossible for us to do something like that.
Right.
You know.
It's kind of like remember the picture of Michelle Obama where the young girl was looking at and saying, okay, hey, I can become, you know, a vice president or a president's wife as well, or even a president.
You can become anything, but you have to have belief, you know, and you're going to lose. I lost a lot of battles along this journey, you know, and got knocked down sometimes. But you know, and I was determined to do something and to be something. You know, at that era, I didn't know what that be something and do something was, you know.
Right.
But I just, you know, I've done a lot of things. You know, I was in one of United Airlines' first classes that accepted African American women. You know, I hated it. You
So
know,
you've done a lot of firsts.
I've done a lot of firsts.
Right.
But I didn't look at it like that. I thought, this is cool. I could do this. It didn't work out, so I'm going back home and start all over.
Now,
Yeah.
are you the first African American lady that is a Republican representative in the state of New Mexico?
I'm the first African American that has ever been elected
As a Republican.
on a Republican ticket. And then after I was elected,
The first African American that's
Period.
ever been elected.
that had ever been
Not just in
elected.
New Mexico.
No, here in the state
But
of New Mexico.
here in the state of New
Here in the
Mexico,
state of
you're
New
the first
Mexico.
African American that was
had
ever
been
elected.
elected
Okay.
in the House of Representatives.
Okay.
And then after I was elected, we had Conrad James,
Okay.
who came in,
Okay.
you know, for a short period, you know, after I did. And so I've had an opportunity to be a lot of firsts. you
Yes.
know, but
Well, that is awesome.
I just want young people to know. I want families to know. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. I want you to know that if you're voting for me, I'm going to give it my best, and I'm going to represent you in District 44.
Awesome.
But number two is that for every little kid that's out there, that I'm not doing anything that you can't do. Because see, I didn't realize how poor we were growing up, but we were rich in love,
Right.
you know, and we had a value system
Yes.
that the whole community adhered to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Took a village.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, you know, the village concept just seemed to grab on, you know, here over the past 10, 15 years. It was a village back in the 50s. It was a
Yes.
village back in the
Absolutely.
60s.
Right.
And you had to follow the village rules.
Absolutely. And you were taught values.
Yeah, you were taught values.
You know,
you were taught
and
respect.
Yes.
And you were taught to be responsible. And you had to be accountable, you know.
And those are values that, even to this day, I really appreciate.
They're important. They're
Yes.
important. And that's what we got to get back to.
Absolutely.
So,
I agree with you.
you know, it's been a joy to
Yes.
speak with you.
Thank you so
And,
much,
thanks for the
Representative Jane Powdrell-Culbert, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check her out. Representative Jane Powdrell-Culbert, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for this particular episode of Itching to Vote. We out.